because he was the last speaker. Sir, you talked so eloquently saying that, public sector is, collaborating with the private sector. Lots of good things are happening. Very honestly, are you satisfied with it? And if there are bottlenecks, what is that you expect the, Mr. Baveja spoke very well about ecosystem that we need to create. Is that something which is missing? What do you think are the challenges? Have we achieved enough?
We need to go through a transparent process, obviously, and we need to bring in various players into the system. So obviously, that be fair, the processes take certain amount of time, which we cannot avoid. So there is a good, there are classic examples that I told you. Many programs are on, joint development is going on between DPSUs, DRDO, DPSU, private sector. It's definitely happening. I think, yes, obviously there should be some more impetus is begun. Government of India, I'm sure, is giving a lot more emphasis. As we talk today, there's a review by the Secretary DP on what is the deployment. I have been sitting and making a lot of, reports to the government. There's no doubt that it will take certain amount of time, but definitely we are in the track. Definitely.
Thank you. You hope that Mr. Baveja, you want to make a comment?
Yeah, definitely on this very subject. See, you put a very moot question, and I know you why you do that. The thing is that there has to be a process, whether the government of India's process or a public sector, DRDO, whatever process. But I must say, being a little bit critical on this, the process has to be faster. It has to be quicker. And if a PSU has got a program, large program, and I feel it should go out, you can't make aircraft or helicopters or systems until the whole ecosystem. Because otherwise you are building capacity for what? When capacity is there in the country. So I would say the process has to go faster, and the selection should be done quicker. And of course, it has to be done on a competitive basis. Speaking from the other side, if private sector feels, assign me a project on a nomination basis, it's not going to happen, not going to work. It's a question of following the law of nature. The fastest, quickest, most competitive survive. So if you want to get into this, then be competitive, be fast, and have capability. So it's a sort of actions from both sides are necessary for success in this field.
But I have a follow-up question for you, Mr. Baveja, is that you talked about Sukhoi taking $700 million of investment, and it's a fairly involved project, right? From material you started producing those Sukhoi aircraft. But for private sector to put that $750 million up front, which in today's dollar terms rupee terms would be equivalent to about 5,000 crores at this point of time, may be very tough. But therefore, as you rightly said too, that there has to be a public-private partnership through which it has to go by. But who takes the lead? To me, is the government has to take the lead, because they give the direction. Only with the direction we can probably all survive around it. So what are your thoughts of how this has to be resolved?
See, it's like this. I talked about processes. The public sectors have a process, they have to comply. Government will have a process, they will have to comply. No, it has to go faster. That's what I said.
Oh.
The second point is that when you said whether $750 million or $100 million, it's an enormous investment. I don't expect the private sector to do it on its own. So what is the solution? It has to be, firstly, a directive from the government. Okay, we are making 200 helicopters or 42 aircraft. There has to be public-private sector partnership by direction or by policy, so that the platform is created. Then after that, the partnership takes place, and it's not a question of producing the whole animal. I mean, everybody does a bit of it, and they invest proportionately. So that is what my view is. No individual private sector, I don't expect, and it's impractical to think that A company in the private sector or B organization in the private sector will produce the whole airframe, everything in this, and we still have 60% indigenous content. It's not going to happen. So
you're saying the processes have to change, processes to become faster. Only then there could be something constructive which will come out.
Not only that, one can't say it has to be only private sector.
No, not necessarily.
Neither can it say it has to be only public sector. It has to be a combination of both. I mean, the blueprint is already there. Look at Airbus, look at Boeing, look at Lockheed Martin, look at Dassault. I mean, they are all involved. They have tier 1s, tier 2s, everybody gets involved in it. And a company invests according to its status, capability, ability. They are not, does a tier 1 to Airbus invest on the whole aircraft? No, they do investment on what they are supposed to do. That is their share of the work. That's the solution. And at the end of it, processes have to be transparent. But the thing to say, no, oh, we are more efficient and we'll do it more efficiently and give me the project because I am capable in that. There's an enormous amount of learning. We all know that.
Sure.
To build a system, whether GE system or the LEAP engine, what you spoke about, or some of the systems, what you do on radars, it's an enormous investment. It's an investment in capability, learning, time. And I think as an individual entity, it would be fallacy to think that, look, no, I'll be able to do it. It's a question of collaboration. And there has to be give and take on both sides. And to make this happen, public sectors do have the challenge. They have the processes to follow, otherwise they live with so many C's chasing them. So they have to go through that. Why no? Why not? For example, if you're a tier 1 to some major OEM, don't they follow a process? They issue an RFP. And then they say they've issued the RFP to half a dozen other people. Ultimately they call you, you negotiate the terms of the contract, you negotiate the price, and then only you go forward. Have they not followed a process? Does not UTAS follow a process? Does not GE follow a process? They all do. But the question is making the thing happen faster, quicker.
Thank you. So can we open the floor to our participants? Please be brief with your question. Mention your name. Yes, sir. Let's start from the front itself. Yeah.
I am Arunakar Mishra. Just to add to what has been going on, the innovate, create, make and support, the words we used, has to happen under an ecosystem. It cannot be under one roof. So what one innovates, that entity may not create. What one creates may not make. And similarly, what you make may not support. So it has to all happen under ecosystem. I think we need to learn those collaborative risk-taking, what has happened in Europe, and there are many examples. That is one point I wanted to add to whatever you have been saying. And then next one on mindset. I was attending a seminar in Canada, and they were talking about the Airbus, and all the leaders were talking about what is global. So we are global company. So global company concept is changing. It is not that you create a supply chain globally, then you become a global company. In fact, they were talking about global companies have to innovate globally. They have to create globally. They have to make globally, and they have to support globally. Now I'm coming to the mindset which you said. Can we in India, rather than just thinking about ourselves within the country, we need to start thinking globally, even small companies. Can small companies innovate globally? Can we create globally? Can we make globally? And can we support globally?
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the intervention and remarks. Is there any question now, please? Yes, sir. Let's get the mic to the back. Yeah. Yeah, you're audible. Go ahead. I think the room is not too large, so you can speak louder.
Sir, I am Dr. Sheshachalam, Professor and HOD of Electronics, BMS College of Engineering. In this ecosystem, we fit in two places. One is on innovation, what you talked, because abroad, universities are the in-house for innovation. Then regarding the skill development. So on this platform, we are talking a lot about the skill gap, and you raised such a big number regarding the graduates on streets. Many renowned and matured colleges are already on its path to fill this gap. For example, a lot of initiatives from our college are there, just to name few. Like in the first year itself.
We have shortage of time, so
yeah,
if you can limit,
just a minute. I'll not take much.
But it has to be a question.
Yeah, question is, industries need to spell out what skill in which sector exactly, and they also own the responsibility to fill the needs, because engineering colleges can be the houses for meeting the demand.
I got the question. I'll answer it for you.
Yeah.
NASSCOM has something called the Sectoral Skill Council. A woman called Dr. Sandhya Chintala runs it. And we have developed a number of QPs, as they're called, qualification packs, which are the skill requirements that are required for the industry at this point of time. We are talking to the academic institutes in terms of what those skills are. We're also making sure that our industry members today also follow the same qualification packs for recruitment. So if you get in touch with Sandhya, she'll tell you what are all more requirements of the industry are. Thank you.
Sure,
Thank you very
it's
much.
also the, hand holding is needed, not merely defining.
We will. We will talk about it more at length.
Yeah.
There's one more
Thank you.
question from there, please.
Sir, my question is to you, sir. You mentioned about CSIR and the various activities. If anybody in the industry wants to go forward, what would be your advice? Is there a sort of central agency in CSIR who can sort of list what are all the technologies available, or should we meet the director of individual CSIR labs? Or I'm sure somebody must be at work. And the last point is, I can answer that. Request to IESA is if they can be an enabler.
Sure.
If they can also come out with a database, that will be useful.
Currently, the way in which CSR labs are working is that individually you have to approach them. But what the proposal is that we are trying to create a Section 8A company, which then takes over all the outcomes that are coming from the CSR labs, and then house them in that 8A company, give an equity to this scientist also as a sweat equity to him, and then spin that out as an intellectual property to a company, give that as a royalty basis, one-time basis, whatever it is. That's a scheme of which things are being worked out at this point of time. Good suggestion. I think CSIR should definitely monetize all the money, your money, my money, taxpayers' money, which has been spent so far. One more question at the back.
This is Ganesh Khedkar from Technologies.
Yes, please. Speak
Very
a little
nice.
louder. 5 more minutes, please.
Very nice deliberation by the team.
5 more
All panelists really did, deliberate the topic very well. I liked your term, digital Darwinism. I think it speaks a lot about what has been the evolution for that. We see the things have been changing a lot and at a very high speed. Today, the change has been defined by someone very well. So I just take 1 minute to explain that out. Whatever we see when we are born, okay, if those things are not being seen when we die in a normal span, and what we see when we die, which is not there when we were born, basically, is a change. And in this generation, there are so many things. Internet was not there when we were born. We had seen Telegram when it was not going there. So many things are there which was never there in earlier centuries. So this is how the change is happening. Now, this is on technological front. If you see the business environment in which we work, I think Mr. Ashok Baweja mentioned about 750 million being spent for Sukhoi planes. Now, the question is, do all that investment needs to go by a single entity? There is always a ABC analysis, like there is always a vanilla manufacturing facility which can be taken up by the small
I thought
companies.
Mr. Baweja very well answered that question. It has to be the ecosystem which has to play an
Right.
extremely important role.
So my question is, the way Korea works, many companies in that particular region works. There's a small company who takes a business which is significantly more than their size, but the whole ecosystem comes up in a very short span. They come, they help, they deliver, and they go back and they earn the money. And in this process, they even compromise on their margin. They make 5% margin, 6 months, get the business, earn the money, and go for the next job. So can we do, maybe as a part of NASCOM, we have been leading that particular initiative, Mr. Reddy, and others as government, can we encourage the system which will also get business for the small companies and also ensure that we don't have to invest by an individual company the high amount which is required for specific technological front?
Certainly, yes. I think that's what we are trying to do at this point of time from NASCOM. A number of initiatives that are going on with Department of Defense, for instance. We've had, I think, a meeting even last week with the Additional Secretary Defense Production at this point of time, trying to see how we can engage the whole ecosystem. It's just not the private sector, the small, the big, the medium guys, the education institutions, all of them have to be engaged. And I think Mr. Baweja said that very rightly, it's the processes have to also change, the speed has to come into play. That's what we got to do. And if you want specific details, I'll be more than happy to answer them. I'll give you my email address. I think we have ran out of last question, I believe, at the back. The last, and the last one here. Yeah, please. But it has to be a question.
Startup, technology startup. We do designs of electronic components and systems. So pretty much we see that every time we come up with a new design, like as a company, we would like to see that we always start from design, take it all the way up to the manufacturing. But when it comes to the manufacturing, sitting in India, we always fail to actually grab that opportunity of doing the manufacturing. Primarily because the component costs, the semiconductor costs, these are like quite off from when I buy it or when I do it outside India versus inside India. It's pretty much, I'm talking about on the ground, right? Zero ground problems. So can NASCOM come into play, taking care of these issues, right? Because if we are talking of making India to be successful, these ground realities has to be changed, right? Where we can be competitive against, like today we are asking business from Taiwan, but my company do go to Taiwan for manufacturing, even though I design it in Bangalore, right? So this is my question to ask.
Good. Thank you very much for that question. If you look at NASCOM or ISA, both are association. We have membership in these associations. It's the members who do the work and not the association as such. So what we can do as ISA or NASCOM is create the awareness levels to the members to make sure that they participate. So your point is that, look, we do the design part, can somebody do the manufacturing? That's something which is a much larger question. Larger question because we understand some of the problems that are there. The issue is all about the scale. Economies of scale come into play in terms of large scale manufacturing. So we are raising them. I think people like Bell have ability to manufacture a number of components. We need to connect people. That's what I think ISA as well as NASCOM is doing. Any specific question, please talk to ISA, NASCOM directly. Good, thank you. Last question, sir.
Yeah, very specific question for Mr. Suresh. Are the defense PSUs doing enough to sensitize at all levels the importance of IP protection? Intellectual property protection at all levels in the defense PSU.
We are having, let me tell you, within organization, within Bell, we have a strong IP, IPR cell. We are regularly filing patents and we are taking care of that. As regards joint development with collaborative partners, there is a clear structure is there. We protect the IP, jointly we own the IP, and of course there are not many cases which I can tell you, but definitely it's on the path to ensure that IPs are totally protected. And there is a outsourcing policy also has been made in aligning with the government's thinking. A lot of changes have happened, which I can't discuss here. There are a lot of...
no, I'm not talking about Bell protecting its IP.
No, I'm talking
about the industry's IP being protected
that's
by Bell.
That's what. We are trying to do that. We are ensuring that the policies are favoring that, not that we take an IP and go for an open tender. Wherever there is a IP has come through joint development is being protected, and we ensure that the concerned, for example, DRDO, through the Akash missile system, all the sub-vendor, tier 2, tier 3 vendors have been protected. They have got their, due share of the whole thing. It has not been, there's no issue on that. IP is also protected. There's a joint IP process is also on. You can be rest assured. I think we can discuss a little bit on detail.
Last remark by... quick remark.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, that Suresh was mentioning about Akash. I was part of the Akash team, and subsequently also I worked for a very big program, very large layout of funds. And we had a consortium approach. It's not that it is not happening, but what happens is when it comes to production of that system, it becomes very tough for some of the small and medium players. We have situations where the player had to withdraw, and that delays the program, which is critical for the country. So there are not very easy answers. It's a very complex scenario. You have to take all these things into factor, and
But
then
also the private sector, you understand the challenges we
Correct,
have.
correct.
We are smaller.
Yeah, correct.
So if you can combine both of them, I'm sure you'll find a solution.
So yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yes,
That consortium approach is the best approach, I think.
On that count, let me first thank the audience for the participation that you did. Very good questions. Thank you very much. I'd like to thank my panel. I think all of you got a 360 view of the challenges that we have in terms of creating a design-led manufacturing nation. And I'm fairly certain with the type of awareness levels that are there, and also the level of participation that's there, we're not too far from that particular point. And finally, I need to thank NASCOM and IESA for creating this opportunity for all of us. Thank you.
Our sincere thanks to this beautiful panel for having discussing something really intensive and so deep in terms of its design-led manufacturing concept to launch. And I request the chairperson of this panel, Mr. BVR Mohan Reddy, to give away this vote of thanks or these mementos to our panelists. Mr. Arup Ray, Vice President, Access Kids Engineering Technologies Limited. Mr. Ashok Baveja, Head Quest Global Defense. Executive Chief Consulting Engineer, GE Aviation India, D. Uma Maheshwar. And General Manager, Technology Planning, BEL, Mr. C.P. Suresh. Now I request the COO from Access Gates, Mr. Sharadhi Babu, to kindly come onto the dais and give this token of thanks to Mr. BVR Mohan Reddy for chairing the panel and giving the keynote address. Thank you so much.